Good evening and welcome. They don't come much bigger, well, at least they don't in the National League anyway, do they, than the top two. Wrexham, I'll get them in the order correct as we have Nathan with us. Wrexham and Notts County, the top two of the National League. Tuesday night should be a cracker. Lots to discuss. Are you in the Macaulay Langstaff camp or the Paul Mullin camp? Now, we've got a few Wrexham people that will be listening into the show tonight as well. Flying the flag for the Welshman, Nathan from Rob Ryan Red Podcast. Nathan, welcome again.
Thanks for having me on. We were top of the league. We were doing better than when I last came on, Paul.
Yes, we both have similar sympathies and frustrations, though, don't we, about playoffs and Grimsby Town and late goals. Late goals, by the way, will be a subject of discussion tonight. I can only remember one in the last 2 years for us when we won 1-0 at Grimsby. Welcome to Chloe in the Notts camp. Chloe, very warm welcome. How is everything?
Yeah, good. Thanks, Paul. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. 2 home games in 4 days after what seemed must have been about a month since we were at home. Lots of fans with us already tonight on the Magpie Circle. Let's go through a quick few of the opening introductory comments. Show favourite, Chris Gosling. Evening, everybody. Excitement levels are building for tomorrow night. Rich Hawksworth. Evening all. I am like a coiled spring. Chris Jordan, evening all. Likewise from Paul Huskisson, Karen Knight. Hello, everyone. Happy Magpie am I. It's great to win when we haven't played that well. Hopefully, we will get back to the press and winning the ball back. Because if we allow the break like we did Saturday and then it disappears, I'm sure it will come back again in a minute, we won't like the outcome. Loving this football Langstaff every time. Matt Cook got that pre-big game sick feeling and I love it. Chris Gosling, I'm not even nervous because I'm convinced if Notts turn up and play with the intensity we are capable of, we will win. Chris Gosling, again, Langstaff and Mullen, both exceptional strikers at this level. Derek Flowers, why the excitement? Isn't it just another game? Wink, wink. Jurgen Halligan, back down the lane, nervous for tomorrow. Nathan. Right. We wheel you out quite a lot for Wrexham. Seems like we play each other all the time, doesn't it? What's the mood in Wrexham about this one then?
The mood in Wrexham about this one, a little bit of nerves because there's a lot of fear around Macaulay Langstaff. I don't think we haven't conceded many goals, but I think the fans still feel like we could concede, and you've got one of the best strikers in the division. Not as good as Paul Mullin, no matter what any of these commenters say, but not as good as him. But, when he scores a hat-trick tomorrow, you can all clip that up and use it and send it me as much as you want. I think there's a lot of excitement. It's a big game, and typically we haven't done that well when we played you. I mean, I was saying to Chloe the other day that when Devontae Redmond scored at sort of the end where the away fans were and Christian Dennis equalised, so we were a bit disappointed that day. You obviously ripped us apart after we scored that rocket. Reece Johnson scored one of the best goals I've ever seen live, as an away game for Wrexham, because we were kind of right behind it where the away fans were. And yeah, we got ripped apart. We missed the penalty, and that was just a really bad day for us. January the 2nd, that one, wasn't it? And then obviously we go in the trophy and we win that one. I can't fully remember if you did put out your strongest team at the time. So it was a good result for us, but it wasn't, we'd have traded that for the league game and it wasn't to be. So I don't know. I think for us, it's a really tough game. And you're already seeing a lot of people saying, we'll take a draw, keep them behind us. We'll take the draw. So I'm excited. I think we're going to go there and win. But, I'm not going to come on here and pretend. I don't want to be too pessimistic about it. It's going to be a really good game. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I think it'll be a really, really good game. 2 really high quality sides.
Chloe, are you buzzing?
Well, after today, I've been in the ticket office and the phone stopped for 5 minutes, honestly, all day long. The last day I had that was like that was probably a playoff game, the Chesterfield one, which was open to just the home fans, where we was only allowed like 5,000. I've never had a day like it other than that. It was just constant. So I think everyone's buzzing for it, really. We're looking at a really good crowd. So the mood around the camp is excited. Obviously, there's a few nerves in there, but I'm sure it's going to be a really good game.
Yeah, it's a real pity, isn't it, that it's not a weekend game. Fortunately, that's the way the cookie crumbles. What sort of crowd would we be expecting tomorrow, Chloe? Would we be touching 10 tomorrow or not?
Yeah, I'm hoping between 9 and 10, to be honest. Weighing up figures from what we've sold, just match day tickets, as well as season ticket holders. And then we've got hospitality on top of that, and then the Wrexham fans, and then whatever we sell tomorrow. So it's touching 9. Hopefully it'll go over that and exceed our expectations. So yeah, it's looking like a really good turnout.
Nathan, Macaulay Langstaff, okay, versus Paul Mullin. Langstaff on a par with Haaland in terms of number of total goals. Mullin, he's miles behind, isn't he? He's at least 5 behind. Langstaff clearly is a ledge at our club already. He's only played 10 games, whatever it is. How popular, how big a player is Paul Mullin for you? Or is, given some of the spending you've been able to do, Mullin kind of one of your, not to cry in too much, but one of a group of your Wrexham Galacticos?
Nah, he's a cult hero. He's the guy that everyone, it's a tricky one because we've signed other players. We spent our record signing is Ollie Palmer, and yet whenever you go on the terraces, we've got Mullin. Everyone sings about Mullin, whether he's on the pitch. I think people saw it in the documentary when he was sat with Robin Ryan when he was banned for the Maidenhead game, and all the crowd were chanting about was Mullin. He's just got this cult hero status that people love him. He just gives off. He's quite an introverted guy off the pitch, so he doesn't really want the attention that comes with being the star striker. And he's just a very, very nice bloke who does a lot of nice things for people in the community. Fans. With a young disabled fan who has become very popular among the fan base. A young lad, he's only about 4 or 5, and Mullin, video calling him on his birthday. All things that not arranged by the club, not just like this is good PR, just wanted to do it, met him, liked his story. Has been very open this week about his own son and like the problems they're having with him, and just a normal bloke who is very nice and is great at football. And we're really lucky to have him. And I think Wrexham have had a lot of bad strikers over the years. We're thinking when we got 38-year-old Dele Adebola to try and fire us to promotion, or we had, we had Michael Bakare and had loads of others that just didn't work out, cheap options. And we're really excited to see what Macaulay Langstaff is like because, 15 goals by October the 1st. I don't care how many games he's played or the level of opposition. I don't care about any of that. 15 goals by October the 1st is an insane amount of goals. We rave about Haaland, who's I know played less games, but he's scored less league goals than what Macaulay Langstaff has done. So it will be interesting to see which defender tries to pick him up tomorrow because these strikers tend to gravitate towards Max Kluwer, the young 19-year-old defender, and they're trying to pick on him and don't get much change out of him. So I wonder if Ben Tozer or Aaron Hayden are going to try and stick with him because the feeling on our side is if we can keep him quiet, you will lack a lot of goals. That's our thinking, which may be wrong, and you'll tell us if that's wrong. But
yeah. Chloe, the Macaulay Langstaff Appreciation Society. Talk to us a little bit about Macaulay.
I mean, it's been who we've been after for years. I mean, probably similar story to Nathan, really. The name Lee Hughes has been ringing about Meadow Lane this season. Just comparing him back to Lee Hughes. We have a fox in the box, and I mean, he's just always there. Every time kind of we go forward, you kind of expect him to be on the end of the ball, and 9 times out of 10 he is, and 9 times out of 10 it's in the back of the net. And obviously there's been a lot of banter on social media about Haaland, and it's just nice to be in the talks, just in social media generally. It's exciting. We look like we're going to carry on and keep scoring as many goals as we are, but don't get me wrong, a lot of things have to happen for Langstaff to score. He's one of them. He works really hard throughout the game, don't get me wrong. He does a lot of running, he does a lot of work off the ball, but a lot of things need to happen for that ball to go in the back of the net. So don't get me wrong, he is our top goal scorer, and it's kind of all hail Macaulay Langstaff at the minute. I mean, we've even got our left wing back in Adam Chickson not wanting to claim his goal on Saturday to give Langstaff his hat-trick. That's kind of the feeling around it. Everybody wants him to do well, but don't get me wrong, we're kind of, a lot of our goals are necessarily like team goals this season, which is quite nice. We've obviously had the screamer from Castro, which from however many yards out at York, his free kick, which was great. But a lot of our goals are really team goals this season, coming in from the wing, and it's brilliant. So yeah, so as much as he is kind of the star player at the moment, everything has to work in order for him to score. So it's all working quite well so far.
John Parr says, tomorrow going to be a real game of end-to-end football. Just got that feeling. Evening all, from Ian Birchnell, Neil Holmes. Tomorrow evening is just another game worth same number of points than any other league game, which is too close to call. Home advantage should see us win. Langstaff, best striker in the division. Chris Gosling, I think it'll be even more special under the lights. Andy Walton, and I'm sure he already knows the answer to this one, Nathan. Was it Mullin that missed the penalty last year? Question mark. Edward Moore, does Nathan see Wrexham starting with 4 at the back, hearing they're playing much better that way with Lee on the pitch? Dale Pikey, not nervous at all. It's not the be-all or end of our season, this game. Andrew Blatherwick, evening, everyone. Just on the Langstaff situation, Nathan, and Chloe's mentioned that there. We did an interview with him at the start of the season. Very good. And Macaulay said how the gaffer had called him in to his office before a ball was kicked and says, look, I want you to play a slightly different way. Last season you played out wide, you dipped in, you dipped out. This year, I kind of want you to play down the middle third and be in the box. And a lot of his goals that he gets, they are fox in the box, as Chloe said, poacher's goals. There's quite a lot of them Lineker-esque, as in 4 yards out, rebound off the keeper, low cross, whipped across, all the way across, far post, 2 yards out, side foots in. Lots of those goals. Mark Stallard, who knows far more about striking than me, would say he doesn't necessarily contribute a lot outside the box. So it's been very interesting how he's kind of adapted to this new role and looks to all intents and purposes as if he is a poacher, years gone by, a Tony Cottee type figure, that type of player. What are the strengths of Mullin? What do you watch out for Mullin? We know he's big and strong. We know he scored a bag of goals at Football League level before dropping down to you. I mean, what makes him such a good goal scorer, and why is he so popular with your fans?
Because he never cheats you of a performance. Like he'll play like a fan. And I think we haven't had that up front for a long time. People who will run themselves into the ground. And before we signed Ollie Palmer, Mullin would be everywhere. He'd be right back trying to win the ball back. And he plays on the edge. One of those strikers where he could score a hat trick or he could get a red card, and we don't quite know which one we're going to get. And usually it's great. And then whenever we played Maidenhead, he would get a red card, and we would just have to accept that, banned for 7 games. But he'll just never cheat you of a performance. And the most frustrating thing, and you could say this at any club, not or wherever, if you see a player that isn't giving 100%, and we've seen that a long time in non-league, players who seem to just phone in a game when we lose. I can't accept that. And so what he does is he just gives everything. His finishing ability, he can score from 25 yards out. We saw last season he bent one top corner against Dagenham and won us the game. So he just has a great strike on him, which is a very standard answer that doesn't really give you much insight. But he strikes the ball so cleanly, whether it's close range, he's good with his head. I think he's really good in the air, and he works well off Ollie Palmer. They're not quite little and large, but Ollie Palmer is that target that you can aim at that will win most of the headers, win most of his aerial duels, and Mullin has got that pace in behind. So I think we can do both, where we can have Palmer drop in, and you'll have to be worried about Mullin trying to breach you on the offside. So it's tricky, isn't it? Because we haven't watched Macaulay Langstaff up close. We've seen highlights and all that sort of thing, and it's goal, looks incredible, real live wire. but you never quite know how they're going to match up. We don't know how Mullen and Palmer will match up to your defense and Macaulay with ours. So I'm really excited about it, and I think people saying it is just another game, but Chloe being in the ticket office, there's just that added buzz to the game. Like everybody's a little bit more excited. We want big games, 10,000 crowd. Against Oldham, I know we played poorly for a long spell, but nearly 10,000 again there at the weekend. It just doesn't feel like the National League, and as we both know, that is quite rare in a league where you go down to Dorking and it's a very sobering reality check, or we go to Southend and play really poorly. So, and Southend are another big club, but I think Tuesday night is special. It's a big game, and for us, if we lose on Tuesday, we got handsomely beaten by Chesterfield. We didn't have a shot on goal. We didn't have a shot on target. I was there that night. It was a really, really poor display. So for our fans, yeah, it's super positive. Yeah, it's super great. But if we go to Notts and put in a similar performance as that Chesterfield one, I think there'll be panic stations, I think.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I'm presuming Benjamin Edwards is a Wrexham fan. Paul, think you've said you think Wrexham will finish outside the top three. We are in a position to buy this league. We are selling 80k merchandise a week at the moment. My point, I guess, Benjamin, without in any way wishing to be flippant, how does 80k merchandise a week at the moment help get you 100 points in the National League? I think what I said, and I am trying to remember what I said that I was worried for Wrexham right at the start of the season because of the way in which they lost out on the playoffs to Grimsby. And that if they didn't get off to a flying start, I thought it would be an interesting test for the owners as to whether they stick with Phil or not. And I think the first one or two games, it was a bit sticky, wasn't it? And if you look at the Championship, Nathan, 6 clubs. I think the stat is a quarter of the Championship have already parted company with their managers.
Yeah, that's right.
We'll come on to Chloe in a minute about fans and Luke. What is the overarching view of Phil Parkinson among the Wrexham fans?
I think he's becoming increasingly popular, and that's easy to say when he's guided you to top spot in the league. But the documentary has just changed people's perception of him. I don't.
Has it? So he wasn't, because you said this to me last year. You said he wasn't massively popular, didn't you?
No, and I'm certain fans may challenge that, but I think generally he wasn't. Like his personality, he's not the most extroverted person, in my opinion, as a manager. And you don't need to be, you don't need a non-league Klopp to get out of the league. He's a very talented manager, but it was one of them where at Wrexham, there's so much expectation, you know what I mean? And with that comes every draw feels like an inquest is needed to work out what's happened. And I'm sure that at Notts there's a similar thing where every draw, because on paper you look at it and go, how have we drawn to this team? And you get on your high horse and whatever. And then you realise, oh, we're still here 14 years later and we still can't beat these teams.
Hey, and to prove the point, sorry to butt in, Nathan, you won 5 at Dorking.
Yeah.
We lost 3-1.
Yeah, but that's the type of result where
that's
the type of result where I guarantee I don't know for sure, but there will have been Notts fans going like, "What is happening? Like, how has this happened? How do we do?" And we'd been on such a good run. We go to Southend, they had a goal wrongly chalked off. It was handball, but they gave it for offside, which was wrong. And people saying, "Oh, God, away form's going to cost us this and that." And yet, to my point about Parkinson, the documentary, we've seen him having these sweary rants, and they've called it, Phil's enthusiasm counter every time he drops the F-bomb and it ticking up. And I think people just like, you know what, he cares so much more than we could see last season, because we only see that little bit, don't we, on the touchline? Not everyone's Jose Mourinho running down the touchline, so to see those little dressing room scenes and he's ripping into players like we wanted to at times last season.
Yeah,
I think people have gone, no, he cares a lot and we're going to back him and we really want him to be the man to take us up, because there was a scene for me very quickly where there was a family that sits behind my parents in the paddock at one of the stands at Wrexham, and you see Phil Parkinson talking to the guy there, saying like, how's it going? How's the town? I've got to know the town and the people. and he really has thrown himself into the community. So in a way, the documentary's done wonders, in my opinion, for Parkinson's kind of rep among the fans. And now there's more chance of, we've got Super Phil Parkey and, people chanting about him, which wasn't that common last season when I came on and I said that.
Yeah. Chloe, give us a verdict, or give us the early viewpoint of a Luke Williams Notts County compared to an Ian Birchinall's Notts County.
So it's interesting with Notts fans. As soon as we get a new manager, it's, you know what it's like, Paul. It just, everything goes out the window, and views are left, right, and centre, and nobody seems to agree on views at Notts County. You're either extremely one way, extremely the other way, or dead centre. There's no kind of, it's a real mix. And we've been through a lot of managers, a hell of a lot of managers. And we've always got this thing of, right, well, this one didn't work, being Ian Birchinall, who didn't have a lot of history, especially in league like the National League. He not really managed in England. We then got Luke Williams, who, again, nobody had really heard of. I mean, in the footballing world, like, the players and ex-managers have given him so much praise, because obviously he's an academy manager. So within the football world, they seem to really highly regard him. But as a fan, we didn't really know much about him. So we've got a lot of the fans going, oh, this is going to be another season in the National League. We've got a nobody again who hasn't managed at this level, etc., etc. And he's just proving people wrong at the moment. I think maybe there's a similarity between him and Phil in that he's maybe not so extroverted. Mainly in his interviews, we don't hear loads from him. So we do obviously post-match interviews and pre-match press conferences with him, but generally outside of that, you don't hear too much from him. But again, I think we can kind of tell as fans that he's telling the players when they're not playing well, and he's quite honest, in my opinion, in his interviews, especially as we're getting further along and game after game. It's like he's becoming more honest, and he will hold his hands up if we didn't play very well. Like on Saturday, he was like, yeah, I wasn't impressed. Don't get me wrong. I'm more than happy that we've got the 3 points, which is quite nice to hear. I'm just talking me personally, from a manager, that he's kind of agreeing with what I'm seeing, which is always nice. You like to kind of hear it. Oh yeah, the manager thinks the same. But no, to be perfectly honest, I wouldn't be happy with him coming out and saying, yeah, it was a great performance on to Wrexham. At least he's kind of really honest in the fact that I know what went wrong, I know what went right. And he's to me, he's really a really clever manager. There's been a couple of occasions this season where you fall in the trap of looking at the team sheet and going, I know better than that. And we had a situation where one of our players was dropped after probably being the best player on the pitch against Solihull. And the next game we won 5-0, and everyone forgot about that kind of after 90 minutes. And we kind of had the same this week with Naman being dropped for Adebayo Rolling, who hasn't started a game this season, not that I can remember anyway. And probably had a man of the match performance again in my books, other than Macaulay Langstaff, who obviously got his 2 goals. So you've got to trust him at the moment, and I think fans are doing that. We're turning up, even if we're not playing extremely well, we're winning games. But it's good to see. You can tell he cares, like you said, on the touchline and in his interviews and stuff. So I think fans are growing to him, and especially if he's going to keep doing what he's doing, then I don't think there's really any qualms of him being manager, and I'd like to see him here for a long while more.
Mfol says, Paul Mullin is a poor man's Macaulay Langstaff. Adrian Druitt says, my daughter's that excited. She's coming to the game on a school night. Andrew Rayson, Langstaff has been exceptional so far, but we need him to cool off a little or he'll be gone in January. And unfortunately, Nathan, we do have other goal scorers too. Ian Birchinall, neither team will want to lose, so will be interesting to see if both teams play their normal game or less attacking. Can't see Notts doing that, but you never know. Derek Flowers, let's see how many turn up at 5 minutes before kickoff and expect to walk straight into the ground. Please tell everyone to get there early. Don't want game being put back till 8 p.m. You have all been dutifully told. Thanks to Derek. Chris Gosling, the only thing I worry about is playing the high line against the quality of Mullen. It's the one area where I think we could be undone tomorrow. Wayne Wilkins from Spain, Barcelona. Maka Langstaffdowski. That's who plays down in my neck of the woods. Derek asks Chloe how many tickets have Wrexham been allocated. Andrew Blatherwick, if Phil Parkinson gets Wrexham promoted, he will be Wrexham's most popular manager since Brian Flynn's days. There's a name from the past. Chris Gosling, Luke has brought tempo and intensity along with a backbone. Not that I want it, but I feel Luke would have us much more prepared in a playoff campaign. As long as he's not prepared to leave for someone else. Andrew Blatherwick, we need to be prepared if needs be. Though Chris, NA and IB were not hard and ruthless enough for the playoffs. I don't think Luke would make the same mistake. I think obviously you've seen us against Ian Birchnell last season a few times, Nathan, and I think that Luke is certainly an upgrade on Ian. And my personal views. I think, and I've said it before, and the phrase I'm going to use, I think Ian is a footballing fraud. I think he lectures people on statistics. We have a section of our fan base who obsess over statistics, obsess over them, and, it kind of annoys me when opposition managers go, "Oh, you're the best team we've played. You've had more possession, blah 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 blah." We had the Dorking manager on, by the way, on our show. Absolutely hilarious, by the way, absolutely hilarious. And he'll talk about what a great side Notts County is. He won 3-1, right? And Dorking scored 2 goals in the last few minutes. And one thing we never ever got under Ian were late goals. And I think that for us to realistically challenge for top spot, I think we've got to get a bit more scruffy, nicking games. As a rule of thumb, we don't nick games. And the reason I'm kind of saying this is that you, under Phil Parkinson, are the absolute masters. So I did a bit of research. We won 1 game in the last minute last year, and that was at Grimsby. We won 1-0. And I think then you have to go back 2 years to Chesterfield when we were losing 2-1 and scored 2 goals in injury time to win 3-2. But I think you have to nick points, don't you? You have to, and you are brilliant at it. So, like when we're winning on Saturday and we're all seeing you're losing for most of the game, we all then think, bloody hell, right, fantastic. And then, equalised. Oh, they've scored again. And you seem to do it all the ruddy time.
And I'm glad to hear that. I'm glad that you're winning a football match and Paul Mullen's penalty, or Super Paul Mullen as we call it, has ruined your Saturday. It's like it's perfect. It's better than me tea. That it's just it's great. Any Wrexham fans listening to this will also absolutely love that. Because everyone's thinking about Wrexham. You're all so concerned about what we're doing, which is just very rare for us. It's taken us about 14, 15 years and a couple of Hollywood stars to get there.
As a journalist here, Nathan, you are taking, and you know it, you are taking my comment out of context. It is a compliment to Wrexham.
I know.
But they are capable of scoring and taking 3 points from the jaws of one.
We
haven't done that for a long time with any regularity.
To take Saturday as an example, I think that's actually a really, really good example. Saturday, we played incredibly poorly. For people there very angry at the performance because all the build-up was got to bring it on the road now. It's all well and good putting 6 past Torquay, free-flowing football. Okay, Torquay are out of sorts, but they weren't a bad side. And when other teams watch them and play them, they'll say they were all right and they just tried to go toe-to-toe and got exposed. That's fine, okay? But you go to Oldham, we've got to bring that intensity on the road, got to bring that same energy, intensity. You don't have that. They're Oldham are pressing you. It's the new manager, David Unsworth's first home game. We went in like we didn't know what we were going there for. And the idea was people saying, well, hang on, if you go to Notts County and play for 80 minutes, as we did against Oldham, we'll get beat we'll get beat comfortably. The only reason we ended up getting back into it was 2 reasons. Oldham had no fitness really. They tired after 70 minutes. and they were blown out the backsides, had nothing left to give, and their fans, in the end, accepted it for what it was. They ran out of steam. It was a clear penalty, and mightily unlucky for them in the last minute. But for us, it's our fitness levels will keep us in games for 95 minutes or whatever it is. And I think as well, Elliot Lee off the bench, all the talk in the build up to this is that Elliot Lee has to start the game. He is one of technically the best players in the division. He's had a problem with his glute injury, so that's kind of kept him to 30-minute spells here or there. But when he comes on, it just changes the game completely. He's able to put a foot on the ball, and he just drives us forward. And the more we pen back these teams, Oldham, we were penning them back and back, further and further back, and they got tired and they got leggy and they make mistakes. They let Ben Tozer drift out to the back post, bottom corner. It's 1-1. And then, the foul on Luke Young at the end. You're right. Honestly, Paul and Chloe, away from home, we've not played well, really, given a couple of exceptions. I mean, at Dorking, we blew them away, but there were a lot of games where we are just grinding out points. Yeovil in particular, when it was that really, really hot day. I can't remember who you were playing that day, but it was insanely hot, and we were cooking. We could have fried eggs on our foreheads that day. It was so hot in the away end. They score a wonder goal, but we played really poorly. We left with a point, and there was some boos next to me. It was the second game of the season, and the players were booed off at Yeovil for a 1-1 draw. And a couple of weeks later, we see Chesterfield scramble a draw there, 2-2. We've seen other teams go and get beat by Yeovil, and actually, that point won't look like, in my opinion, 2 points dropped come April, May. That was a good point for us to get, and yeah, I don't know what it is with Parky's teams. I think there's an element of the long throw always gives you some sort of outlet. You've always got a chance to get it in there like a corner, and we just got this knack of this. It's very cliche, so you've got that belief to the bitter end. But I think we've scored enough late goals now that we believe when we see that board go up and we see more than 4 minutes on there, we just think it's going to happen again. And I think Eastleigh last season, last minute winner. Dover, the Dover game when we win 6-5. There's trying to think of other ones where Halifax away last season, Paul Mullin scored a last minute winner. Wealdstone, we went and we broke the advertising board because we scored in the last minute there, 90+5, whatever that was. Probably 8 or 9 examples of when we've done it. So it's interesting to hear you haven't been able to get those last minute winners. I know you've beaten teams a lot more comfortably in other games, but for us, especially away from home, it's all, maybe we've got an agreement with the documentary that we're not allowed these straightforward 3-0 or 4-0, and it's got to be these kind of 97-minute winners or something.
Lee Swanwick, Birchnell a fraud. That's a bit strong. Very much doubt Rodriguez would agree with that. I'll have a bet with you, Lee, that 95% of the Forest Green Rovers fan base agree with that. Matt Cook, only other late goal I can think of in the National League was Sutton away in season 2, Wootton last minute winner. Benjamin Edwards, representing Wrexham, we win late because Elliot Lee is like a cheat mode. Go on, just explain that one. Is that getting the penalties? No.
No. I think that's just like a FIFA. He's so good that it's like cheating. He's saying he's that talented.
Old-fashioned, obviously.
He's that talented, Paul. It's like we're cheating. It's not fair. How have we been allowed him?
Robert Holland, early days in the season, but there haven't been many games this season where we've needed a late goal. That's to our credit. I totally agree with you, Robert. I would have liked the late goal at Dorking to have been for us, not them. I just think the standards by which, if we're judging us to win this league, and it's looking like over 100 points at the minute, the way things are going, I just think you're going to need some of those, whilst you won't hit your points target, no matter how well you're playing games. And Remy Sky, hello, Remy, from New York City. Andrew Rayson, if I remember, Paul, I'm sure we got our winner at Grimsby around the 60th minute, 70th at the latest, which isn't a last-minute theft. Thought, though, I could be wrong. Andrew, you are wrong. Normally I'm wrong, you're wrong. And the reason I know you're wrong, apart from Edward Moore saying it was the 88th minute, was Chloe?
Yeah, I missed it. The train
You went for the train early,
yeah.
and then the train got stuck in the station for half an hour after the game, correct?
And I'm never gonna forget it because we, like you say, we don't score late on. So I thought I was more than comfortable to just leave. Maybe I should leave early a few more times and see if it happens again.
Remy Sky, Nathan, who is one of our resident Notts County fans, apologies on behalf of my native USA for the existence of Ryan Reynolds. It's a bit strong. Hopefully we can pay him back for making that horrible 2005 restaurant comedy with a nice 4-0 win. Ian Birchnell, is this reverse psychology from Nathan, making us think they play poorly away? Jurgen Halligan, just looked it up, Andrew, 90th minute. I thought it was very late. I remember thinking, hey, what a way to win a game. Remy Sky, cheers, Mr. Mace, lads. So I'm trying, on the basis you miss Grimsby, when did you last see Notts County score a last-minute winner, Chloe?
I can't remember one, Paul, because we weren't at the Chesterfield game. I remember watching it in my house in Manchester. With
you
my
still at primary school, weren't you?
Yeah, I don't remember one. I really don't. Like I say, that one against Chesterfield, it was in lockdown, and what a way to have won a game at Chesterfield, because it doesn't happen very often. And being behind, I think we would have scored into the away end if I remember rightly. Obviously there was no fans there, so to have been behind that goal would have been incredible. But I don't know the last time we scored a last-minute goal, and I was there a very long time ago.
Nathan, you mentioned this briefly. The documentary series, the whole Hollywood razzmatazz and all of that. I've mentioned this story before, but for the benefit of you, I was out on Major League Soccer work, and I'd flown into Los Angeles, and it was about 15 hours of flying, and it's a long haul to LA, and I'm coming out the airport in the Uber about 10:30 at night, and there's this huge electronic board, and I looked at it, and it just got Wrexham plastered across it, coming soon, and the Wrexham series, so it genuinely has cut through and resonated in America as well. But I think it's fair to say it is aimed primarily at the American market. Yeah, so there's lots of subtitles and all of that. I mean, what's the average Wrexham fan's take on that? You've sort of said it's certainly helping Phil Parkinson.
Yeah, no, it's definitely helping. I think it's helping Parkinson with the people of Wrexham and people who were there in the ground last season and stuff like that. But I think we've embraced it for what it is. There's no one disputing that it's targeted at a North American audience. That's also totally fine. I get sent messages all the time of I'm a new fan in Alabama or Texas, and I've got my shirt now, and I'm keeping an eye on the results, and I'm getting up, and I don't like to, and I'm sure you'll echo this, like, you don't need to have been a fan your entire life. If you want to support Wrexham, that's an amazing thing. And you want to suffer watching Wrexham against Notts County, or you want to suffer watching any of these other teams, something's wrong with you, but also welcome to the club. And, you will enjoy the anguish that comes with it. Something's not quite right. If you end up following Wrexham, I don't care how glamorous it looks on the documentary, something's gone wrong, because it's nothing but pain when you follow Wrexham normally, and nothing but disappointment. And they always wonder why everyone is so pessimistic in Wrexham, but everyone's loving the documentary, really. I mean, you see people in it like Wayne Jones, who runs the Turf pub, and he's well known in the town anyway. And I'm happy for people like that, because a lot of people in Wrexham, and I'm biased and people will say this, but I think they deserve a break. The town needed a break. And I dread to think of what a fans-run club would have done during COVID. Would we have had to have furloughed all our players? I do worry what would have happened. And I'd be speculating now because it didn't happen. But it's gone down really well, Paul, to answer your question very straight. A lot of people love it. There's 4 more episodes out this week. And then we're going to, I've already had Grimsby fans messaging me like, can't wait for episode 18. Really excited for episode 18. Like, don't ruin the score for me and all that. So look, we're getting to the point where we're going to get a lot of jokes. We're going to be the butt of a lot of jokes. Now, we've had the fun bits. Ollie Palmer's just got into the mix. Now we're going to have Wembley when Bromley did a number on us. And they had a bloke called Reynolds playing for them celebrating. So that was ideal. And then we've got the Grimsby game. And like you say, we got that shared disappointment of somehow we both fumbled games that we should have won, that we didn't. But documentary-wise, everyone's, I think, 99.9% have absolutely loved it.
Good. Andrew Blatherwick, last-minute winner. Les Brad at the City Ground against Nottingham Forest in 1975. I was 12 years old. That was good. Yeah, and clearly the one we've forgotten about, I've forgotten about it, Chloe. Mark Ellis, playoff against Chesterfield. Completely that one completely gone through. Many of you pointed out that one. You're absolutely spot on. Chris Gosling, Paul, what's happened to the Kedwin Scott interview? It's in the editing room, i.e. my son, but he's been a bit busy working hard for once. So we should have that later this week. Apologies, it is a good one. What else we got? Lee Swanwick. We've still got members of the Ian Birchnell Appreciation Society. Still think it's a bit strong if you're wanting healthy debate. Everybody's entitled to their opinion, including me, Lee. And I'm sorry, 0 promotions. Okay, and that was his job to get us here. And I think most of the people that were supporting him lost that support with the manner of his departure. Andrew Rayson, Paul is right though, Lee. IB was a fraud and a patronising one too. There's the reason why he was never liked by the majority, including myself. Remy Sky, main thing folks don't understand is why aren't Wrexham playing Man U? Where are the games with Chelsea? They also don't get how far down the National League is. The pyramid is very, very foreign here. Ian Birchnell, I was expecting Hollywood studios to work their magic and Wrexham do league and cup double. Remy Sky adds, yes, it's all over New York City. The Wrexham series has promotional posters everywhere. Buses, subway stops, subways, TV commercials, magazines. Very, very true. I'm going to bring Chloe in now to talk about points targets for this season. But Remy, I'd be interested because obviously I know you are a native American. How did you get involved with Notts County? Tap away, let us all know and share if you can. Chloe, I remember Nathan, and I know this resonated with quite a few of our followers on the Magpie Circle last year, when he spoke about the ups and mainly downs of Wrexham before the Hollywood owners came in, and said one year they got 90-odd points and didn't get promoted. Now, you have to look at the minute in the way that Wrexham are amassing points, Notts are amassing points, and Chesterfield. All of us, I think, at the minute are average. If we carried on the way we did, we'd all be over 100 points. And clearly, that will change a little bit with 2 of us playing tomorrow. What's your take, Chloe? Do you think that 2 or 3 clubs are going to pull away? Do you think this is going to be right down to the wire with a blanket finish, or is this going to be a real exceptional number of points needed this season?
Generally, I think that it'll be Wrexham, Notts, Chesterfield and Solihull that'll pull away. Obviously, Solihull have had a couple of results that have kind of slipped away from us a little bit, but points-wise, they're not far behind. We're all going to go through stages, dropping points to teams that we shouldn't, or however you want to put it. But generally, I think it might be them 4 with another one in there possibly. But I think there'll be a big difference between the kind of playoffs and then just underneath the season, whereas it was quite close last year. I personally think it will be between Notts and Wrexham, and that's not me kind of drawing Chesterfield off. I just think they've got a blip in them somewhere yet. But we'll see as the season goes on. I do think it's gonna come close, in my opinion. I mean, that's what everybody as like a National League fan would want. I mean, you obviously want your club to just go and storm it, as we all do, but as a neutral, just as a football fan in general, we all want to see that title race. Everybody wants to see it in the Premier League. We all, as National League fans, you want to see it in the National League. But I think it'll be close. I was saying to someone in the shop earlier that I think that it might be a similar case as last season, with Stockport maybe edging it a bit, with that being maybe Wrexham this season. But if you saw, I think it was the second to last month of the season, and Stockport really dropped off, and Wrexham were just that little bit far behind to take the lead, to take the league. But I think if we can stay within 6 points of each other coming into them last couple of months, and it's anyone's game. We talk about pressure a lot, and we know all eyes are on Wrexham, as you said earlier, Nathan. That's not just other teams in the National League. That's everybody kind of, I don't want to say across the world now, but as you've kind of said, Paul, with the documentary being out there, it's kind of all eyes on the National League, really, which is great for the league. But it is a lot of pressure, and that proved last season, obviously, with the final, the playoff semi-final against Wrexham, and then the final of the FA Trophy. Obviously, neither turned out well, and it's whether your pressures get into you this season. You obviously said with the Chesterfield game, that being a really big game for you away from home, and you just didn't turn up as much as you said. And then Oldham's still a big game. Obviously, it's your way. There's not many clubs that are kind of in that northwest region. And obviously, there was some trouble and stuff. So it proved to be a big game, fans-wise. And again, you obviously won that game. But you're talking performance-wise, it seems to be the bigger games where maybe, I don't know whether it's the pressure's too much. This is just kind of me putting 2 and 2 together. I know it's not that simple, but maybe again, obviously it's all eyes on Wrexham, which you said you liked, which is funny because we as Notts County have always said, don't look at us, pretend we're not here, and we'll keep itching away. And it's been kind of a bit of a running joke with us and BT that we don't think that they like us. They never want to kind of praise us, even after a game that we've won on TV. They talk about how bad the opposition were. So it's kind of a bit of a running joke that we're maybe a little bit opposites, and that there's a lot of pressure on Wrexham just with the documentary, with your owners and how much money's been spent, whereas compared to us, we kind of want to be under that radar. So it's interesting to see what's going to happen, and whether that pressure this season is just going to build you up and it's just kind of going to go for you finally, or whether it's going to come crashing back down. But it's really interesting. But personally, I think it's going to go into that last month, and then we'll see who cracks under the pressure. But for me, I hate the thought of another playoff. So that top spot is what I really want this season. As much as I would love to go and win the final, whether that's at Wembley, whether that's at the London Stadium, whether that's anywhere, we all would want to win a playoffs. But after losing so many, I just want to go up automatically this season. It would be great.
Nathan, okay, so points wise this season, what do you reckon it's going to take?
I really didn't appreciate the 98-point reminder. That still absolutely haunts us. And part of me wants to go up on 98 points. And then I feel like we've exercised that demon. And you know what I mean? The number is not cursed. But yeah, you said it there, 98 points. And Jamie Vardy's Fleetwood did us in, basically. And playoffs weren't what they were then. It wasn't, there was no advantage finishing second. And we lost in the first round of the playoffs. And as I said to Chloe the other day, both our seasons will be failures if we don't go up. That's just the nature of the beast. I think there's other teams in the league, personally, for me, teams like Bromley, Boreham Wood, where they've got a chance to go up, but I don't think it's an ultimate failure for them if they...
Spot on. Absolutely
That's
spot
my
on.
opinion, whereas I think
spot
Chesterfield, Notts County... I don't even think Solihull, in my opinion, Notts County, Wrexham and Chesterfield, it's promotion or bust. Your whole season depends on that. So with that comes immense amount of pressure, and the tighter it gets, if those three, let's just say those three pull away, I think Solihull are a great team, but just say those three pull away, and it's nip and tuck, and there's 2-3 points in it, every mistake feels fatal. And I think as fans, we get nervous, and that translates to the players. I'm fortunate I get to speak to some of the players, and they always say they tune it all out, but that's just impossible. I honestly, with some of the grounds, the way how close you are, Dorking, we were stood around the goal. We would no more than 5 feet away from some of the players. It's impossible to tune out thousands of people screaming things at you. I've never believed that with all the players I've met. And I think it will. I think it will take 100 points. I really do think it will, because yes, there are teams in the division that are poor, and there are some really poor teams, but there are some really good teams and some really good players. Paul Mullin, Kabongo Shamanga, Macaulay Langstaff have absolutely no business playing in the 5th division. That if they were in League One right now in good setups, they would score a lot of goals. I've no doubt about that. And you look at other players. I mean, I remember at work, we couldn't get over when Harry Arter signed for Notts County. My boss could never get over that. He still talks about it now. I don't even know where Harry Arthur is now, but he couldn't get over that the National League was able to get a player like that, like an international player. And it is. You're talking about the National League and people like Remy and stuff like that. We've obviously been the one pushing for streaming for
Yeah.
obvious reasons, but
I was going to ask you about that.
the national Notts County will have so many fans abroad. I know we're in that kind of group where, well, it's only going to benefit the big teams, but there's never been more eyeballs on the National League than there is right now, and that's not solely because of Ryan Reynolds, but it's going to be a. I don't think any team's going to run away with it. I don't think we are. I don't think you are. I don't think anyone is going to do that. There's too much quality, and we know how difficult this league. You know what I mean? You go to Altrincham in late December and you come away with a 1-1 draw and you think that's about right. A friend of mine, a quick story, a friend of mine who's an Oldham fan is still getting to grips with life in the National League. He's still getting to grips with it. He's not quite au fait yet with how this league works. And so he went to Bromley and he called me up and he was really angry. They lost 3-0 at Bromley and he was like really, his voice had gone hoarse. Like he'd lost his voice screaming at the players. And I said, you were never going to win at Bromley. No one wins away at Bromley. That's part of the agreement when you come down, that they always have their plastic pitch. The goals seem to move. They just seem to move the goals whenever they want, and you don't win there. It's normal. And he was like, I hate losing at this club and that club. And I was like, you're going to be here like us for a good number of years. Just embrace it. And I feel like you guys have just accepted that you're not. I don't know. When you came down, you'll be able to tell me if I'm wrong here, and I'm sure everyone will in the comments. But when you come down, you have to lose that sense of grandeur, like that we're so big to be down here. And once you realize that and shed that, and you just accept where you are, I think you've accepted it now. I've got a manager that you believe in that is not a fraud, and But I think you've kind of shed this, like, we deserve to win that game, and we deserve to win that game because we're Notts County, where that's cost us for years. We're Wrexham, and they have 17 fans, and how are we losing this game? And that's your big undoing. So yeah, I think Chesterfield have kind of figured it out with their, Ollie Banks, I think, is one of the best midfielders in the division. Macaulay Langstaff, Paul Mullin, we could debate that for days and days, and we'll know more after Tuesday, obviously. But it's going to take, for me, 100 points. I think it'll be 100 points.
Okay, let's sort out Remy, because it's a good story, and there's a love-in with Remy in New York City with our Notts fan base. And Remy, there's so many messages coming out. I've just got to scroll back up now. Right, here we go. So here is Remy Sky's Notts County story from New York. I'm adopted by my late father, an Italian immigrant. He took me to see Juve as a young boy. My blood is British by birth, though he told me the shirt story, so there is the Juve Notts connection. Lots of Notts fans picking up on that. And when Remy is promising to come over for a playoff final or promotion party at the end of the season, and it looks like he needs to be a good drinker from the number of our flock who are offering to buy him a drink when he comes over. Here's one. All in very good banter, and it bears no relation to tomorrow. But Paul Huskerson, and I, because he's good mates with Paul Cox, and I have a feeling Paul Cox was manager of Eastwood when this happened. And there's a local non-league team, Eastwood Town. Does that bring any memories? Beating Wrexham in the FA Cup.
I feel like I come
about a decade or more ago when Dean Saunders was in charge.
I feel like I come on here and you just remind me of really painful things, and then I wonder why I agreed to keep coming on. It's 98 points, and then it's the Dean Saunders era. I'm not sure what's going on here, Paul, to be honest.
Was that correct, by the way? Sorry.
Yes. Yeah.
We've had a few mares in the FA Cup. We've got Colville Town at home. We've been drawn against, and I mean, it's a good draw because we're at home. They are local to us. Just outside Leicester. Banana skin.
We're away at Blythe Spartans, so that feels like a big banana skin up there. But we'll see.
You'd like to think it wouldn't be. What else have we got? So many. Andrew Blatherwick. There's no car crash teams like Dover and Kings Lynn this season. The relegation places were done Christmas last season. Yeah, I think it would probably be more competitive with less of the things mapped out. But I would definitely agree with Nathan that there is a divide in this division. There is a divide between the better teams and the teams that, quite frankly, would automatically fill the bottom two places in the Football League. We're quite fond of saying the top 6, 8 would all bloody get promoted in Division 2. I'm not sure that's quite the way of it. Stockport have not found life easy. Stockport have not found life easy. And I think we would say they were the best team in the National League last season. What else have we got on here? George Hilton, Wrexham fans should go to Goose Fair tomorrow, where they can have a good time without the pressure. Goose Fair, big fair for us, that one. It's 9 days. It's normally only 2. So if they get here early or whatever, you can pop down there. Now, Nathan, you go everywhere at Wrexham, don't you?
Sadly, yeah, for my sins. I don't know. I need more hobbies, Paul. There's something else I can do.
I think we're all agreed that it's a massive game tomorrow night, aren't we?
Yeah, huge game.
Yeah, so clearly you're coming along.
I'm going to be about 30. I don't know how far. Miles and miles in the air. Work of not giving me it, so I'm going away. I'm flying all the way to Japan, of all places. All the way. So I'm going to land in Japan. I guess because I take off at 7, and then I'm assuming I'm not going to know. So I'll be able to avoid it for whatever, and the chaos will be going on in Nottingham, and we'll either be doing great or it'll be a nil. I can't see it being a 0-0 draw. There's too many goals on the pitch for, I'm not sure. Your defense looks pretty good by the numbers. Ours is pretty good, and I saw somebody say before about that both teams won't want to lose. I get that, but I would be stunned if it's a scoreless game, 0-0. I think there'll be so much atmosphere. I think the atmosphere is going to be great. We're taking a lot of fans. Chloe will know more than me and the exact number that is, but yeah, I'm really gutted actually because I kind of wanted to come and at least avenge that one where we lost. Was it 3-1 in the end? I think it was 3-1, wasn't it? And we got done 3-1. But yeah, I'm gonna be in Japan for the Formula One, so it could be worse.
It's not a bad excuse to
not
be
bad,
fair.
is it?
Chris Jordan says, spot on, Nathan. After this initial anger and denial period, the National League has been pretty good. In Birchenall, I wasn't upset as some when we lost at Dorking. Never happy to lose, but we won't win every game. Ian Birchenall, Nathan, great to have you on. Just say Hornchurch to get your own back. Yeah, it's another reason that Ian Birchenall was a footballing fraud. Cue more keyboard aggression from Lee Swanwick. Zedo, this already feels like it will take something more to get out this season. Good young managers and players worthy of much higher level. Journeyman thin on the ground. Andrew Rayson, quite right. I was at the game. Or Salford, not forgetting Havant and Waterlooville. Yeah, we've got quite an alumni of FA Cup exits. Chloe, and that's your point that you raised. It's a very good one, Nathan, about coming to terms with it. Hands up. I haven't. Absolutely not. Haven't got to terms with it, haven't got to grips with it, still think it is a massive, absolute disgrace we are where we are. So I find that difficult, okay? But that's because I'm a lot older than both of you two, yeah? So I remember us going to playing in the top flight, and competing effectively. So I genuinely find it very, very difficult. And, I am, in all walks of life, I am very anti-excuses. And I think that under previous regimes, far too many excuses have been proffered because people will say there's only one team gets promoted automatically. That's quite right. One through the playoffs. But if I look since Notts were relegated at the 6 teams who have been promoted, okay, fair enough, Stockport, yeah. But why do Harrogate get promoted ahead of Notts County? Why does Sutton United get promoted ahead of Notts County? Why did Barrow get promoted? I kind of look at it from a point of view of we should be doing better. We should be finishing ahead of them, no matter how small. And I'm sure that's kind of chewed you up over many more years. Chloe, have you come to terms with Notts being a National League club for 4 seasons?
Yeah, I think so now. But like you say, from when I've supported them, the highest I've seen us is League One. And we weren't there for very long from when I supported them. Um, all I've ever seen us do is drop down. I've never seen us, I know it's a bit of a sob story, I've never seen us win anything. All I've ever seen is playoff losses and relegations. So it hasn't been a good story. So I think it's obviously easier for me to come to terms with who we're playing. That very first season, everybody told us it's a really hard league to get out of, and you go, yeah, whatever kind of thing, and we're Notts County, and I've never even heard of half these teams that we've played against. And then the one that did it for me was the first game. The first game we played was at Eastleigh away, and again I was stood at the railing, pitch level. We couldn't get in the little stand that they had because it was full with Notts County fans. And we went there and we were awful. We lost 1-0 and had 2 men sent off. And it was like, wow, welcome to the National League. And don't get me wrong, the rest of that season, it was still, who are these? What's this pitch? How are Harrogate on this pitch getting promoted ahead of us? Exactly that goal. But as it's gone on, yeah, we are where we are because we deserve to be. We haven't been good enough any season to go up, apart from maybe the one where Barrow went up. I think that season, if it wasn't for COVID, and don't get me wrong, this is in hindsight, of course, I'm going to say this, I am biased, but how we were playing that season and how close it got, I believe that we'd have given that a hell of a go compared to how it ended up. But at the end of the day, like you say, we're where we are because we deserve to be. If we go up this season, it's damn right because we deserve to go up. There's no team that's going up this year. I don't think anybody's going up like Grimsby did last season. Nobody is nicking that last playoff place and going up, in my opinion. Anything can happen in the National League, but I just think, like we've said, there's them 3, maybe possibly 4 teams that are just that next level. And if 2 of them don't go up, I'll be gobsmacked, to be honest. I just can't see anyone nicking it last minute. But again, it's the National League. Anything can happen.
Robert Holland says, have to accept that we are a National League club because we are, but I'm still angry about it. Ian Birchnell, it's character building, Chloe. You'll so enjoy the good times better. Andrew Blatherwick, Barrow is the one that peeves me because it was the curtailed lockdown season. We'll never know if us or Harrogate would have caught them in the 8 extra games that we should have played. Ian Birchnell, I'm with you on that, Andrew. COVID did Barrow a massive favour. Andrew Blatherwick, agree with Chloe. Harrogate still had to play us and Barrow that season. Ifs, buts, maybes, we are where we are, aren't we? It's been a very good show tonight, Nathan. Really enjoyed your time. Glad for spending a little over an hour with us ahead of heading off to the Japanese Grand Prix, as you do. Chloe, thank you as always. Nathan, I hope when you land in Tokyo, whenever it is, let's say it's been an entertaining game, and we score a 98-minute winner. How about that? Just to buck the trend a bit.
I'm not, and that's not what I'm hoping for. I'm just gonna be honest, Paul. I think, you know what? I'd love us to just go and absolutely put on a masterclass and just lay down the biggest statement we can, and stop Macaulay Langstaff scoring and prove that Paul Mullin once and for all is the non-league Haaland or whatever. And then I can come back on, sneak my way onto your next podcast somehow, sneak into the stream without you seeing my Paul Mullin mask. And you know what? It's one of them where either way the reaction is going to be strong. And maybe not from your side. Maybe you can just say it's Wrexham, they're spending this amount of money, but you're also a massive team with massive aspirations, and I know that if we lose, the reaction will be massive. And depending on how you lose, no, like if you beat us 3-0, or if you get beat 3-0, there'll be panic stations from either side. So hopefully I'm going to land, and I'm not bitterly disappointed as soon as I land. And there's people in Tokyo Airport wondering why a grown man is worried about a 5th division Welsh team. So let's fingers crossed. I'm hoping. I'm going to go. I'll put my prediction. I'll go 2-1 Wrexham. That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit that one of our flock said earlier, look, it's one game, it's 3 points, there's tons to go, and they're absolutely right. But like you say, the kind of reaction to it, the repercussions from it, then shape what happens. Because the team that loses tomorrow, if it's not a draw, could well go on and win in the next 5, and the team that wins has a nightmare on Saturday. And then it clearly has mattered, not one jot. But it kind of has something that I mean, the one thing I would really concern me is a bit strong. Potentially, you can go 5 points clear of us, can't you, tomorrow? Were you to win, which I think is a decent lead when you think we've actually played very well. Conversely, we can piggyback you, but I wouldn't want to be 5 points behind you, if I'm honest with you. Chloe, what predictions? What sort of game you expecting? I do actually think it's going to be a pretty open game. I think both sets of fans will demand it to be played at a high tempo. I don't see two teams necessarily midfield cancel each other out. I actually do think this is going to be good theatre, good occasion, and I think quite an entertaining game.
Well, it's all set up to be exactly that. We always fear that you build up a game like this and it does end up being 0-0. But like you both said, I can't see it this year. Every time we've played each other, there's been goals. Do you know what I mean? It's not been a 0-0, a boring game. So I can't see why this would be any different, even on a Tuesday night. Like someone said, I prefer Tuesday nights. I love games under the lights. Definitely on a big occasion. You're still bringing plenty of fans. It's not like you've only got 50 showing up. So big game in front of a big crowd. You've got to imagine there's going to be goals, and I think you've sold a few of us the dream that we're not very good away from home, and every time we play someone good we don't play well, which sounds great because again our home record this season has been excellent. We're unbeaten, and you say you haven't got as good of an away kind of performance as you'd like to think, so something's got to give. Is that going to be your away performance against kind of a top side finally improving and you can forget about Chesterfield as such, or is it going to be us keeping that unbeaten home record, which is obviously exactly what I'd want? I can't see it being a draw, to be completely honest, just a feeling that I've got. As much as you've sold the dream about it being not very good away from home, you've also it's the killer, the last minute goals that we can be sloppy in defence. We can give one away. We haven't given many away in one game. It's been one here, one there. I had a look earlier. I think you have conceded maybe 2 less goals. So it's neither here or there. Like I say, we're not really getting rolled over by teams, apart from the Dorking one. That was the real killer for us. But if you kind of cancel that game out, there's just really been a one here and one there. But they've generally been sloppy. So I think if we can tighten up at the back, it's going to be difficult against people like Palmer and Mullin. We don't play like players like against as every week. Do you know what I mean? So I do feel weirdly confident, which is a horrible thing to say just before a big game. But I think there might be 3 or 4 goals in it. So I think I might be going 3-1. 3 or 4 goals in the whole game, that is, not just for one of the sides. I don't think either one of us can put 3 or 4 past each other, and it'd be a miracle if either one could. But I think there'll be generally 3 or 4 goals in the game, and 2 or 3-1 to not. So I'm praying, I'm manifesting it, and let's see if it can happen.
And to finish with, we're our Magpie Circle flock, Nathan, is a knowledgeable lot. Okay? So Remy Sky, as well as flying the Notts County flag in New York, he's also, I didn't know this, he's also a Japanese historian. And so here he's saying, when you're in Tokyo, check out the Great Buddha in Kamakura. I don't know what my Japanese is like, whether I pronounced that right. It's a few hours away if you're looking for something to do. Tokyo is the usual stuff. Kamakura, brackets, outside the box. As for restaurants, there you go, bit of eating there. If you want to eat Western and legendary stuff, go to Ribera's Steakhouse. And I'm not sure whether you are a tattooed Wrexham warrior or not. If you have tattoos, be sure to cover anything on your forearms or exposed on your body, as it's not proper in some places. I apologise if you've been to Japan before and know all this. We clearly don't want you being confused with a member of the Yakuza, do we, Nathan? You know,
No, that's all very helpful. I've never been to Japan, so I'll make sure I cover up my big portrait of Paul Mullin on my forearm, and then if this Ollie Palmer henna tattoo dries, we'll cover that one up as well, shall we? No, that's all really helpful. I'm excited. I'm just disappointed. That people are scoffing on text to me saying, what an amazing experience and all that. I really want to be at Nottingham. I really want to be at Notts. That's really. And I've been there before. It's not like I've never been before. I go to all these events, and I'm very lucky and very fortunate in my job, and I get that, and I never take that for granted. But everything means a bit more with Wrexham, whether it's Dorking or where, and I try where I can to pass up Premier League games and go and watch Wrexham at Maidenhead, and I'm always disappointed when it doesn't go well. But I love Wrexham to bits, as you lot love Notts, and if you didn't, you wouldn't go all over the country to. I felt for you guys last year when you were going to Dover about 85 times, and it got and it got postponed every time. And and that's you do it because you just really want. And if it's you guys, if it's us, if we both do it, it'll be one hell of a party for both of us to go up, and it'll be an emotional thing because if you're never down here in this level, you don't understand what it means to get out of the level. And when you get out, just the relief is immense, and you see Grimsby now and they're able to kick on and the whole place will change. Notts County as a club and Wrexham as a club will completely change as soon as you can get out of the league. Everyone just can relax a bit more because to drop out of League Two, you've got to be terrible, basically. And to get out of non-league, you've got to be perfect.
True. We were terrible. The year we went down, we were an absolute disgrace, by the way. An absolute, utter disgrace. Yeah.
You have to be perfect. You have to be perfect to go up, though, almost. You have to be that top team, otherwise it's a complete lottery. So it's that gap between you have to be perfect nearly, or you have to be terrible, which you're saying, you were. And yeah, for both of us, I really hope, and this is cliche, I've come on here, but I really hope we both can. It'd be great if we both can. Chesterfield were an absolute nightmare when we went there, so I'd love to see them mess it up. And, we will pray, and we all sat there on deadline day praying. We were all going to get the taxis to St. Andrews in case Cabango's there. We'll get our own doctor, send our medical team in, pass the medical, get the check signed. And so, I think January you're going to be fighting to keep Macaulay. If you want my honest opinion, he'll be on 20 goals at least by then, you would imagine, touch wood, that nothing happens to him. So
we've just introduced a topic that means if we debate it, you will miss your plane to take
no worries. I'm not going to get onto it. I'm not going to get onto it.
But to finish on it, it's quite random tonight, but clearly there's a little bit of sort of like far and wide. Daniel Seckham, apologies if I've not pronounced it. Hi Paul, a Plymouth Argyle fan here. Just want to say, love your show. Hoping you get back in the league this season. A quick question: what manager and goalkeeper played for both Notts and Plymouth? I think I can answer that. Goalkeeper, Steve Cherry. Manager, Neil Warnock. I don't know whether you mean a manager and goalkeeper both together. I don't know, but Dave Regis played for Notts and Plymouth as well as a striker. Ian Birchinell, did Nathan say lottery for playoffs away? Paul rant. Yeah, it's not a lottery, Nathan. We won't bring Grimsby up. Grimsby deserve to beat us, whatever anyone says, and Grimsby deserve to beat you, right? Because they scored more goals. Okay, end of argument. Nothing else matters. Remy Sky, I too would rather be in Nottingham than Japan. Craig Simmons, very benevolently, quite happy for Notts to win the league and Wrexham go up in the playoffs. It's very benevolent of him, isn't it?
That's very nice of Craig there, isn't it? Yeah, we're not going to. We're no dealing on that, Craig. We're just going to see how it plays out. It's very benevolent of him, yeah.
Yeah. All right, Nathan. Thank you ever so much indeed.
Thanks
Chloe,
so much.
Thank you very much. See you tomorrow night. Nathan, have a safe trip and flight over to Japan. And we will, I'm sure, all be gathering again later in the season when we head over to Wrexham.
Yeah, thanks so much, and all the best with the game tomorrow. I'm sure it'll be a great atmosphere, and I'll be waiting with bated breath when I land to see that we've won 5-0 or whatever it will be.
Take care, everyone. Thank you all tonight. Lots and lots of messages. Really looking forward to tomorrow. It's a proper. I can't give it any more compliment. Say it's got a football league feel to it tomorrow night. So that's all good. Thank you ever so much indeed. We'll be back Wednesday this week with Mark Stellard, dissecting and reviewing what's gone on Tuesday evening. Take care all for now. See you Wednesday. Bye-bye.